God, this music is good. But hello, everybody. It is Al Knight, it is Brony time, and welcome back to Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy. We left off on kind of a cliffhanger. It was revealed that there had to have been a fourth person in the room around the time of the murder, but it couldn't be Olga because she was unconscious. And it couldn't have been Phoenix because it's revealed that he didn't actually swing anything that night. Now, of course, I guess he could have killed her after she was knocked out, but who knows. But yeah, now he's accused Christoph Gavin, our mentor, of being the murderer. So we'll see how this goes. Anyway, let's get right back into the episode. Hold up, guys. It takes so long to load in. That evening, Christoph and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Shady Smith walked in 5 minutes after Christoph left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I turned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call. To Defense Attorney Gavin. Mr. Gavin, you were at the Borscht Bull Club the night of the murder? I dine with him rather frequently. And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder? Quite against my will, I had become involved in a murder. Thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you? Right. Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then, and now. Thought my office was doing you a favor when we took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong. Very well, the defense attorneys may cross-examine the witness. Justice, sir, he's lying and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright. This can't end well. Why can't I have a normal trial? Because you're the main character in the Ace Attorney series, you can never have regular trials. Okay, so they were having dinner. Smith walked in 5 minutes after he left. Smith hit the waitress. Okay, tell us more about that. About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga O'Reilly mentioned. Yes, a harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it. A quirk? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. The card she planted. Yes, I stuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? There's an empty bottle of grape juice I've been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. An empty bottle of grape juice? The murder weapon? Yes, I rolled it up and shoved it in. The colored glass makes it hard to see. A battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. That sounds like terrific drama. A card inside the murder weapon. That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look. Mr. Wright, the pokerhead of Courtney number 3 approves of this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information. Okay, well first we need to examine this bottle, obviously. Quite clearly there is a card in here. No clues here. Is there another bottle? Huh. Bottle's completely empty. What? Doesn't make any sense. He said he put something in there. Why is it empty? I'm so confused. He said he put something in there, but I don't see anything. But... what? I don't know, guys. I'm completely stuck. Because it says there's supposed to be a card in this bottle, and there is no card in that bottle. I don't understand. This is a problem. I have no clue what else it could be, you guys. Like, no clue. Like, he said he put it in the bottle, but there is nothing in this bottle. Like, nothing. I don't know what to do here. What else can we use this for? Oh, that's the point! Oh my god, I just realized it. Oh god, that's the point! There is no card in— oh god, I'm so sorry, you guys. I got so stuck. Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes. I've examined the bottle, and I don't see any card in here. No? What, Mr. Wright? Surely, is it all you have to say for yourself? Can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh? Perhaps a fifth person came and took it out. Oh, and a sixth person could have helped. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client. My apologies, Your Honor. Won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle. There was nothing. So what's going on? Is Mr. Wright hoodwinking us again? Or did that card just disappear? In any case, please continue the cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh, push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the knockout. Ugh, why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? Okay, after that really, really dumb... I'm so sorry. That was the whole point. I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Okay, let's look at our evidence again. Wait a second. So, in his testimony, Phoenix said that he saw blood, but how could he have when the hat is covering the dude's forehead?
Objection!
Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. I love this. All has to be part of his plan. He is just not fazed by anything we're throwing at him. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? Ah, I forgot to mention something. I was going to put that hat on his head. Eh? You put the hat on a dead man's head? He wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police, when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view. Shining bright, just like in this photograph. And I picked his hat up off the floor, put it on his head. Well, why did you do a thing like that? All I could say is, I'm sorry. That's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Miss O really didn't see it. It being the victim's, his head. I think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the only one who witnessed his head. Ah, here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon? It just seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. Hey, he's still our client, isn't he? I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm getting to see how you came to lose your attorney badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Kristoff. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put that card in the bottle to dispose of it. When I put that hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. A reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night, recall that I spoke with defense attorney Gavin after calling the police, just in case I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the court. Kristoff, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good? Turned out to be dead. Someone hit him hard. I mean, someone cracked that flawless bone china plate. It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands, should it come to that. Bone china plate. Kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny. And not plate, but pate. I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. Court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second. Something's not right about that phone call. So after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club? Most certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this? Bone china pate? Is it pate or is it pate? Oh, that's right! Yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. When I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court. Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason. The reason why you put the victim's hat back on. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it? Phoenix, right? Order! I will have order! Mr. Payne! Yes, Your Honor. I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear Defense Attorney Gavin's testimony? I am, well, as the prosecutor, Very well. We'll break for 10 minutes. After which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for a cross-examination. Are we all clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well. This will be the final recess for the day. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. Who'd have thought today would turn out like this? May I? May I? Huh? What? Hello, sir. Please, pick a card. Look, what's all this about? Is this one okay? Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it. A trump card? The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely and the game is yours. That's all. An ace. Where do I remember that card from? Oh, it's the 5th ace. The missing 5th ace! Wait, this blotch of red. Is this blood? You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it. This blood-stained card is my trump card for finding the truth. That was his daughter, eh? I fell deep into thought as my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl, I'd seen her recently, but where? That's when I made the connection. The younger version of her. Bloody ace. Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Well, this is not where I saw this trial going. This really is a turnabout. Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. Well, the witness state his name and occupation. Is this farce necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this court. Fine, I'll play along. First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat? By secret, I'm guessing he means the fact that Mr. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in. Objection! I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin. Oh, we got Phoenix's theme now! Woo! Mr. Wright! What do you think you're doing, Wright? Well, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, never once taking it off except for that one time. That one time being the instant he was hit. Oh! Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime. The hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to see Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. Excuse me? In other words, I must be the real killer. Is that what you're trying to say? Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin, I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court. What? Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation I see little reason to hide anything. Very well, allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night. Finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of that fateful night? The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright, holding a bottle in his hand. I sensed that was not the best place for me to be at the time, and so I left. That's when the call came from Wright. So, you witnessed the murder? For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you're on Mr. Wright's defense team. Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client. What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand, after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify as you just did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright, you had to say that because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo? Oh, I don't know, dude. I'm with you. I have no idea what's going on. Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. A bald head and a unconscious girl and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. Well, tell us more about that, because you're claiming you saw that he did it. Those were the only three at the scene of the crime. Yes, as far as I saw, at least. Then we're back where we started. The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police? Two reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend Wright. Even after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend. There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Justice, I just said I saw no one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Ah, yes, this mysterious fourth person, who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose. Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question, then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap the cards in the victim's hand? Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary. How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the fifth ace. The fifth ace, right. Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out a card has been raised. Can you point to a reason? It's now or never. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out. Then go ahead and point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the fifth ace? Take that! My reason is, this. Is that an ace? Why, it's got blood on it. Right next to the spade. What? This is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why? Could this be the missing fifth ace? Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card with some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Borscht Bowl Club that night after the murder had occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are stock in trade, after all.
Objection!
No! Impossible! Unacceptable! The court can't accept this evidence. It's fraud! A fraud? How can you be so sure? What? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason? The reason for the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime. Where are you going with this? Take another look at the photo and at the victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood ran from his forehead down the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose the killer then took the card to hide the blood. Regardless, that evidence is non-permissible. Oh? Right, regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence. Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question. Okay, something's going on with this, because there's clearly a history here. Phoenix ceased to be a lawyer 7 years ago. Like, whenever someone brings up the rules of the courtroom, he's very dismissive of them. So, and right there, he's been like, oh, we can get to this legal system later. He resents it in some way. So something happened that caused him to resent this justice system. I don't know what it is, but I guess we'll find out as we play. What's important now is that I've answered your question. Oops, I missed that. I hit the space bar. What are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now I told you. That one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see.
Objection!
This is baseless conjecture. Baseless!
Objection!
Oh, I assure you, it's quite based. It's really cool, actually. What? It's amazing, really, how a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo? Yes. Try picturing the scene of the crime in your head. Wow! 3D! Wow! The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table. And, before the killer swapped a card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. Given this, there is one decisive problem with this scene. Well, what is it? Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on a card, whose position in this diagram doesn't fit. The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses? Whose position doesn't fit with the bloody card? The killer, because if the victim was on that side... What? Wait a minute. Is it the victim? Huh. I don't actually know. I don't think it's the killer because... Yeah, I'm gonna play it safe. Always go with the victim.
Take that!
Well, isn't it the victim's position that's the problem? I don't follow your logic here, Mr. Justice. Well, look, the victim was struck on the head, sitting him back in his chair. You'd think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him. Ah! Take a look at the photo again. Okay, I see where it's going. If he bled in this position, the blood would fall on the floor, not on the cards. Why, that's right. So what does this mean? Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh man. Apollo, try turning the chair around. Recreate the crime scene. Oh, okay, so it's just a tap. The chair was facing the other way. It would have to be. So we have to assume that at the time of the murder, the victim's chair was facing away from the table. When Mr. Wright returned from informing the police, which way was the chair facing? When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in this photo. That would mean the killer turned the chair back around. Let's take the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know now the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction. Again? Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of this crime? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses, whose location creates a contradiction if the victim was facing away? Well, this time it would be the killer. The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Sitting where his indicator currently is. I think it'd be quite hard, yes. Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall in the middle of a game? I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light. Oh, sorry. Cat. What? There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here, where would his assailant be standing? Try marking it on the diagram. What? But there's no room to put a mark where the killer should be. Don't worry, let's think it through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing toward the wall at the time of this crime. That's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. Where would the killer have to be standing to strike our victim from the front? Well, he would have to be standing right here. The killer had to be standing, well, here. You get points for flair, but that's all you get. Thought I was onto something here, too. I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim is facing a solid cupboard. Or are you claiming the killer climbed the cupboard and hit him from above? Ha! It's simple logic, really. If this was the only place the killer could have been standing, then that means that at the very moment of the crime... Wait, I know! At the moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there. What's this now? I mean, that's the only explanation. Right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately. Bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard. Ah, Your Honor. What? There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff. Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright. I do my best. But let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again. It's been changed. If the killer was standing here at the time of the crime, then this cupboard wasn't here, which means, Apollo, try moving the cupboard. Alright, so we'll just go ahead. Thank you. As you can see, the cupboard was the problem. At the time of the murder, it has to have been shown here. Now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my! What's this? What is it now? What is it now? Look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. It appears we found yet another contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh, dang! Notice something, Apollo? Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion. Now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradicting indicator. Is it the victim, the killer, the witness, the second witness? Which indicator's diagram contradicts what we know about the crime? Person number 2.
Take that!
About this cupboard, are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs. Ah! That's right. Someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What did you say? Oh, is the coolest defense in the West losing his cool? Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right? It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was, while the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Excuse me, Your Honor! Order! This is a court of law and I will have order! We just now received word from our investigation team at the Borscht Bull Club. They've examined the cupboard in the hideout, Your Honor. Oh, and what did they find? Well, Your Honor, it turns out there's a secret passage behind it. What? Yes, I believe I mentioned something of the sort before. This is one of the tricks to the room many of our regulars know about. Do remember him saying something about that now that he mentions it. A secret passage is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal ongoings. Never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops and enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo? I see it, but I don't believe it. That girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked and the victim's hat was only off his head for a few minutes before Mr. Smith's murder. And Mr. Wright returned from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin, come on, say something. Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we could probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. There he crouched, hidden in the secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came, and he took it. What? Why did you do that? Wait here, I'll get help! Wait here, I'll get help! Miss Olga O'Reilly was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. Then our killer stepped out from the secret passage and into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look, and after the deed was done, the colonel must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. That single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor. And the fact that they were all red. Ugh. Well, it seems this trial is taking yet another turn. I'm truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Payne! Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant, he is hereby cleared of all suspicion. Ah! Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin, but afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest. Immediately. Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin? Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? The defendant is cleared of all suspicion. This is hardly a time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use legal evidence to put the blame on someone else. Not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Legal evidence? Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin, is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course, this bottle, for instance. The bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking? How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints, am I right, Mr. Payne? Actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were, upside down. I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. The court in this case demand an explanation. I can think of only one reason why anyone would hold a bottle upside down. That is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor. See how the caught fish squirms to the last. Well, Apollo? Yes? Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still. But I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation. Just like that. Yeah, just like what? Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down other than to... Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there in plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words? It would be hasty to deliver a verdict when I ask your questions indeed. Well, Mr. Justice, Mr. Gavin said that the court in this case demand an explanation. Don't worry, Justice won't leave until justice is done. Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court? What evidence do you have to explain why the fingers of the bottle are upside down? Well, I think the only evidence we really have left here is this photo.
Take that!
It's actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. Excuse me? On the floor? Yes, now reach down and pick it up. Although, without getting out of your chair. Up! See? You naturally go to pick up the bottle by its neck. With your fingers upside down. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times. Wow, I can't believe it was that simple. We call our dinner that evening, Christoph. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically, you used the bottle on the table to do the deed. But then you must have remembered. So you went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano. And you switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon. Order, order, order! What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin? Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. Well, what? You claim that I switched the bottle. Where is your proof? Proof? Well, that's, as I thought, more baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty.
Objection!
I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation? Ah, yes, I have your memo about that here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Borscht Bowl Club. And here's one of the bottles in question. What are you going to dust that for fingerprints too? I'd be surprised if any were on that but his. Mr. Gavin probably wouldn't make such a novice mistake, true. Bottle won't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Yes? Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Just humor me. Mr. Wright, that bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? That's some bottle. Ah, looky here. There's something inside the bottle. Oh, what's this? That card. It can't be. Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga O'Reilly? Yes, a little swindling Devotchka. That night I planted the card like I was supposed to. And Wright lost the last hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Wait, this isn't... You're telling me that this is the planted card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony. I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. Yes, I took a peek at it and found it was the Five of Hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card. Disposed? Where? There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. The Five of Hearts. This is the card. The bottles were swapped. And the only one who could have done that was the fourth person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. Oh God. Oh God, oh! That is all. And that is all for this episode. Yeah, I'm running a little time out of recording anything here, so unfortunately, as much as it pains me to stop this episode here, I'm going to have to, because I have some stuff to do. But yeah, dang, what a twist. So, in the end, it indeed was Christoph Gavin who was responsible for, the murder of, Shady Smith. Yeah, Shady Smith. I think we'll finally figure... Well, we kind of already know what happened, but thank you all for watching. Please give a like, comment, and subscribe to Brony Time for more content, especially more of the Ace Attorney Apollo Justice Trilogy. Also, make sure to share the video far and wide so this new series can reach all the eyes. And, yeah, so I will see you all next time.